All right. Today we're going to work on set 1.2 in ALEKS. So here's what it looks like. So you'll be asked, what is the position of D on the number line? So look at this number line. And you can see that D is somewhere between 2 and 3. How do we determine what its position is? So how did you get that? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do I do with that 5? So I'm at 2. So I have at least 2 and then a little bit more. And this 1 here is divided into 5 pieces. So that 5 is the denominator of the fraction. And then how many of those fifths am I actually using? 1, 2. 2 and 2 fifths. Okay? Write your answer as a fraction or mixed number. So you guys are really used to this, but once you hit 9th grade, definitely 10th grade, we stop using mixed numbers. Mixed numbers are hard to use. They're hard to add. They're hard to multiply. They're kind of messy. How would I turn this into what we call an improper fraction? So he said 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Why does that work? Okay, good. So how many fifths are there right there? 5. How many fifths are there right there? 5. So what we're saying is we have 2 copies of 5. 5 over 5. Right? So 5 over 5 plus 5 over 5 is 10 over 5. And then I have to add the last 2 is 12 over 5. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, next one. Rewrite 13 over 15 and 5 over 6 so that they have a common denominator. What does it mean to have a common denominator? The bottom number is the same. Why would we want that? It's easy. Not multiply. You can actually multiply without a common denominator to add or subtract. So if I had 2 cheesecakes, oops, that didn't work out the way I wanted. And one cheesecake had this much left. And one cheesecake had this much left. So the first one is 2 pieces, and the second one is 1 piece. And I asked, how much cheesecake do I have left? And you said 3 pieces. What's wrong with that? Well, the pieces are different sizes. So if I just asked you how much cheesecake there is, and you told me 3 pieces, that doesn't give me any information about how much cheesecake you actually have. So over here, we have 2/8 left, right? And then the other one is 1/3. Well, 2 plus 1 is 3, so I have 3 pieces. Not a good idea. What do we need to do in order to determine how much cheesecake we really have left? We need to find the least common denominator. Okay, and it might not be clear why you have to do that to begin with, but eventually this will make sense. So we look at 8 and 3. What is the smallest number that 8 and 3 both go into? 24. How'd you get that? Oh, good job. You could just multiply them together. 8 times 3 is 24. Is that always the easiest way? Not always. It will always work, but sometimes it creates problems. So I want to change the equation into this. What do I need to do to this to turn it into that? Multiply by 3. So 8 times 3 is 24. 2 times 3 is 6. And then what do I need to do to this? Multiply by 8. Okay. And now I have 14 over 24. Okay. Whoa. Hey, listen to what I mean. Don't ever listen to what I say. Just listen to what I mean. Okay. Now, let's not simplify this yet. What have we done? What have I really accomplished here? Well, yes. Okay. This might seem a little confusing at first, but hopefully it will make a lot of sense. So, how much cheesecake is there right here? Well, there's 1/4 of a cheesecake, or 2/8 of a cheesecake, or 6/24. Now, all of these numbers are the same, right? So what I've done is I have cut this into more pieces until I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, right? And over here, I cut this so that I have 8 pieces. And what do you notice about these pieces and these pieces? Now they're the same size. Does that make sense? So I took the pieces on the left that were small and the piece on the right that was big, and I cut them into smaller pieces until the left pieces and the right pieces are the same size. Okay? They're not the same number of pieces, but the pieces on the left and the pieces on the right are now the same size. Why does that help? Why would I want all of the pieces to be the same size? They're uniform, and what was my purpose here? Find out how much cheesecake was left. So now that the pieces are all the same size, I can just count them. And by the way, how big is each piece? 1/24. So, how many pieces are on the left? 6. How big is each piece? 1/24. How many pieces are on the right? 8. And how big is each piece? 1/24. So, 6 pieces plus 8 pieces is 14 pieces. But what should I do now? Once I have 14/24, can I simplify that? Yes. What would it be? I'm going to take out a 2. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And I get 7/12. Does that make sense why you do that? Okay. Well, how do we find least common denominator? So let's say I had 12 I had 12 and 15. What is the least common denominator? That's the least common that is the greatest common factor. I want to know what is the smallest number that 12 and 15 both go into. Here's how you figure it out. You break 12 into its prime factors. 2 times 6, 3 times 2, and 3 times 5. Okay, I'm going to put them in order. So 2 times 2 times 3, and 3 times 5. Okay, those are the building blocks for those numbers. Everybody follow so far? So, my smallest common multiple, my least common denominator, has to contain all of the building blocks of 12 and all of the building blocks of 15. But if there's overlap between the two, then I don't need to throw in that number twice. So my final answer has to have 2's in it. How many 2's does it have to cover both sides? 2 2's. 2 times 2. My common denominator has to have 3's. How many 3's does it have to cover both sides? 1. Right? Okay. Do you see why it's 1? It has to have a 3. If it has a 3, then it covers the left side and it covers the right side. Okay? And it has to have a 5. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, times 5 is 60. Okay, well, what do I need to do to this to turn it into a 60th? Times it by 4. So 13 times 4 is 52. Okay. What do I need to do to this to turn it into a 60th? Times it by 10. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's do a couple of these. A couple more of these to help you out. So what if I had 18 and 24. So I break it down as far as it will go. 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. And 24 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Do you guys know how to do that? You don't? Do you need help with factoring? Anybody need help? No, we're good? Okay, so my least common multiple has to have 2's and 3's. And the number of 2's it needs is the biggest number of 2's that is on one side. So how many 2's do I need? 3. I need 3 2's. Why not 4? Would 4 work as a common multiple? 4 2's? Yeah, it would. But it's extra. I don't need it. Okay. And then how many 3's does my common multiple have to have? 2 3's. So all you do is find the biggest number of 2's and the biggest number of 3's, and if there are more numbers, the biggest number of 5's and 7's, okay, and 11's, and then you just multiply them together. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18, times 2 is 36, times 2 is 72. 18 and 24 both go into 72. If I put an extra 2 in there, then I would have 144. Does 18 go into 144? Yes. Does 24 go into 144? Yes, but it's bigger than it needs to be. Okay. Okay. Question 3. What is the location of C? So we count, or well, let's write it out. So it's 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And C is in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 position. So I'm going to say 1 and 1/2 by simplifying that fraction. We good? Okay. All right. Write your answer as a decimal. So because this is a decimal, we have 1, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces. So as a decimal, this is going to be 8.34. Do you guys get that? It's 4/100ths past 8.3. Okay. We've done that. All right, question 6. 3/25 and 1/10. So 25 is made up of 5 times 5, and 10 is made up of 5 times 2. What does my common denominator have to have? 2 5s and a 2. So the biggest number of 5s and the biggest number of 2s. So 2 5s and a 2 makes 50. What do I need to do to this to turn it into 50th? Times it by 2, so I get a 6. What do I need to do to this to turn it into a 50th? Times it by 5. So 6/50 and 5/50. We good with that? Okay. Decimals. What would number 7 be as a decimal? 2.7. Good. Another decimal. Okay. Let's do this one. 20 is made up of 2 times 2 times 5. 25 is made up of 5 times 5. What does the common denominator have to have? 2 2s and 2 5s, which would be 100. What do I need to multiply the first one by? 5, so 65. And the second one, multiply it by 4, so 40 and 28 is 68. Okay. All right. That looks like that's everything. Any questions? So, once you get done with this, go ahead and work on your AlexPy. Good luck. And